Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. Hope you're having a good day. In case you don't know, this is serious talk with a little bit of comedy injected every now and then, but we really don't have too much comedy right now because there's so much crap going on around the world. But serious talk on everything that matters to you. We will talk about your job, your industry, the economy, the markets, taxes, deficits, debt, spending, scams, shams, corruption, you name it. We cover it, including thine election. I had one person email me, why are you covering the election? And I'm supposed to answer that question? Why am I covering the election? Anyway, thanks for being with us today. We try to, we're very careful with our words. We always listen back to the show. Do you know why? We always want to be able to convey what we want to convey. And in real time, we do not script the show. I have no notes. I think maybe once every couple of months, I'll write down a few little bullet points about a show. But we have no notes. Later, we'll do some news that I have where in the morning, I go on X or Twitter and I follow certain things and it gets pushed to me. That's why I love Twitter so much, or X. And then I'll email it to myself because I want to talk about it on the radio. But when we're talking about this whole freaking central bank thing, we know that you can basically fall asleep. We know that in the real world of your life, one would ask, who gives a crap? We know that. But we also know they unfortunately matter. And as I have said to you, this man who has been wrong 100% of the time is the most important financial man in the world. Why? Because he had the ability, and I must tell you, I never ever thought there was any chance that anyone in this world would have the ability to sit at a frickin' computer and press buttons and actually print out of thin air to $9 trillion. Not billion, not 10 billion, not 100 billion. He printed to $9 trillion and bought up the whole freaking bond market. He interfered, manipulated, and rigged the biggest market in the world, the U.S. bond market, in order to get rates down to the bare bone because of COVID. And what did that do? It created all kinds of bubbles. We warned you about the bubbles. Easy money, the most ridiculous easy money on earth forever and ever and ever. They started printing money with Bernanke, and Bernanke lied to everybody, said, oh, we're going to do this for a little bit of time, and we're not going to do it anymore. He lied. And the reason why they lie is because printing money actually makes them look good. It forces markets up. It gets juices flowing. And what happened with Powell is we got NFTs. Go look it up. I saw the first NFT that was bought, or one of the ones was bought for $2.5 million. They tried to sell it for $50 and didn't get any. What did it do? Rolex watches skyrocketed. They're now down 40% in the last couple of years. Housing prices skyrocketed. Why? Because he rigged rates down to zero. You got 3% mortgages. It's like free money because you get to write off your interest on your mortgage. And what it ended up doing under the housing market, who the hell wants to sell a 3% mortgage to buy a 7% mortgage? So forced housing prices up. You had SPACs. You had the meme stocks, all kinds of crazy crap. But we warned you that he would cause inflation. And it was pretty simple. Go look up inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods. Well, he had too much money chasing nothing. And we warned you about it. And we told people on radio, we told people on TV that he was going to cause massive inflation. And we got the inflation. And what ended up happening? Everybody else got the blame. And do you know why everybody else got the blame? Because he's not elected. You know politics. You blame the other side, whether it's the other side or not. Well, we're telling you it was Jay Powell. And then what happened? Biden, kerosene on the fire, which caused bigger inflation. I'm going to do $1.8 trillion of spending into nothing. We'll call it the Inflation Reduction Act, and because he's a moron, Biden, out of nowhere, how stupid he is, he admits it on TV. Yeah, there was really no inflation reduction in there. And of course, the media didn't kick him in the you-know-whats for lying, because it's their side. So we got this big inflation, and what happened with Powell? It's transitory, no big deal. So inflation goes to 4%, no worries. 6%, no worries. 9%, holy crap. And he ended up he was dragged. He was kicking and screaming. And what does he do? While he's sitting there at 0%, and the real free markets of yields were going up, he finally raises rates a quarter point. And it worsens. He finally panicked. And he took rates up. And up 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 and up. And he got to 5.25, 5.5. And the markets have been better and the economy's been sound. We'll call it sound, though there's lots of warts out there, and the word debt comes to mind, the word deficits come to mind, and August comes to mind, because the Morlocks in D.C., Biden and his peeps, in the month of August, we gave them $307 billion. They spent $688 billion. Now, why would they run a record monthly deficit in August of 2024? Because they hate you. They hate you. Okay, maybe a big word. They laugh at you. You're a mark. I'm a mark. They did it because we're going into an election, and the more they spend, the better GDP shows up. They ran a $381 billion deficit in August of 24. September, October. Only 2 months left before the election. They're laughing at us. They're laughing. And it also helps the markets too. Massive spending. The problem is it's all debt. Taking another credit card out with a bigger credit limit to pay for the last one. You think they give a crap about you? You think they give a crap about me? Hell no. They're laughing at us. So what happens in the last 6 months, the job market slows down, but nothing untoward. It slows down. Normal. That's okay. Slows down. Okay. No big deal. Everything will be just fine. But the 10-year yield drops to 3.6 and change while Powell's at 5.25. He's behind again. But there's a big difference. When you're behind and inflation's picking up, you got to catch up by raising rates, which hurts things. Now he's got to catch up by lowering rates, which maybe helps things. The problem is we keep working our arses off, producing, creating, earning, and every time we create $1, they're spending $1.30. Last month, it was like $1.60. So Powell did his thing today, and he lowered rates, played catch-up. We predicted for you a half point. Well, everybody's out there. Well, not everybody. A lot of people are out there talking about a quarter point. Now, why did we tell you it'd be a half point? By the way, it's overrated what he did. Why? Because the 10-year yield's down at 3.68. He's down to 4 3/4. He's still behind. But he'll affect some loans and this and that. He'll affect your money market rates. You're not going to get 5 1/4 anymore. You'll get 4 3/4, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Up next. So what's the problem? I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
So, here's my biggest issue. It's not even Jay Powell. It's my industry. It's weird at times. It's weird. So first off, we said to you it was going to be a half point. Many said a quarter. There were some people that said a half. Why did we think it was a half point? Well, last Wednesday, the market was getting in trouble and reversed 800 points on Wednesday. And since, pretty much anything that benefits from lower rates, economic-wise, start getting going. So let me tell you what happened. Are you listening? They leaked it. They leaked the half point. Now, wait, Gary, but the meeting started yesterday, and they came out with the answer today. I got news for you. It's a bunch of people that vote, and they leaked it. That's all. How did I know they leaked it? Because there are certain areas of the markets and the media that just, when they say something about what the Fed's going to do, you know they heard it. And unfortunately, last Wednesday, there were people that acted on that leak. There's no doubt in my mind. Gary, come on, that doesn't happen. There's no corruption in D.C. No. I don't know if you know this, but 2 Fed heads had to resign a few years back for insider trading. They weren't indicted. They didn't go to jail. We would have, but they're gone. I don't know if you know this. There's another Fed head right now that's under whatever. The guy from Georgia. Guess what he did? Traded when he's not supposed to. Nothing's going to happen to him. Oh, Powell had some issues also on insider trading years ago. The Washington politicians are the greatest legal insider traders of all time. They would go to jail. Never. We would go to jail for everything they do. We're finding out day in and day out where somebody in the health and whatever committees finding out about some company which may be coming out with some sort of drug, and they're buying the stock. And do you know, on Twitter, on X, they make fun of Nancy Pelosi all the time about how she trades right before big news comes out on a company. She's only worth a couple of $100 million. No, leaks don't happen. Corruption doesn't happen. It happened. That's how I knew it was a half point. But I digress. So the markets, what I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with what happens tomorrow, because I have absolutely no clue what happens tomorrow. But I do know today, upon the half-point cut, the Dow was up 300 and something. I think let me give you the exact number if you don't mind. The Dow hit 41,981. That's 478 points. The Dow was up 375 points in and around the 2 o'clock hour. It finished down 103. Not the end of the world, but they sold into it. The NASDAQ, which for me is more important, hit today 17,832, closed at 17,573. Let me make sure I got this right. 17,832, my bad. So that's, let's call it 260 higher. The NASDAQ was up 205 points, finished down 55. So they distributed it. Now, there's this little rule of thumb with the Fed. If the day of the Fed announcement, the market's down, tomorrow will be up, the market's up, and tomorrow will be down. I don't have a freaking clue about that. Does not matter to me. My guess, they'll probably bounce it tomorrow. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But that's kind of sort of how it works, because it's an insane asylum. We're just letting you know it was sell the news today. And we had said to you on this show, maybe we got to sell the news. We didn't predict it. We're not patting on the back. We didn't predict it. But what was the other line we told you? This is the most anticipated, predicted rate cut ever. Because they basically told us. It was a matter of just a quarter or half point, but guess what? They leaked it. People front run it. They should go to jail. They won't. It's just like 2008. All these big machas committed massive fraud in plain sight. Not one got indicted. They all got promoted, ended up making billions. Well, for our $800 billion that they gave to these scumbags in the banks at the time. So technically, you got a reversal today at the close. They'll bounce it tomorrow. To what extent, I don't know. And we'll go from there. How's that? We'll go from there. I don't want to go too much further because the action today was insane. And I mean insane. Let's see what I can get to you here. Let's do the, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to. We first went from 41,539 to 41,981. So we rallied up 450 points. We then dropped 390 points. This is all in 2 hours. We then rallied up 270 points. Then we dropped 280 points. Then we rallied 213 points. Then we dropped 270 points. Then we rallied 240 points. Then we dropped 320 points. And then we rallied up 100 points and then dropped a little bit to the close to where the Dow is down 103 points, which means tomorrow we'll gap up and see if it holds. That's just a guess about gapping up tomorrow. Don't take that for heart. And it really doesn't matter because you can't trade it anyhow right now. I have yet to scan because on a day like today, there's no way I'm scanning till after the close. Just what we'll see today is we had reversals, which means you're up nicely, you finished down, and there's reversals to the upside. Last Wednesday, the Dow was down 700, finished up. And we'll see how the rest of the week goes. How big is it that he lowered these rates? I don't think it's not going to change your job. It's not going to do anything on the economy. Not a lick. Nothing personal. I've never met the man. He's the most overrated government official on earth, even more than Biden. And we know how Biden is, how bad he is, so we can't really overrate him. So that was today. And I don't know what it means going forward, what we're going to do on a daily basis. We're going to let you know what's working, what's not working, what's leading, what's lagging. I can tell you by the close today, yeah, that's some music. We'll let you know what's on the leadership front here, leading into tomorrow. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
So I'll tell you what I'm going to be watching. And I'm going to be the only person watching it. The 10-year yield. What have we been telling you? Just watch the 10-year yield. How is it possible I'm worried about the 10-year yield now if Jay Powell's lowering rates? Well, by him lowering rates, that tells us he doesn't care as much about inflation. And if there's any inflation out there, a simmering inflation, yields will go up in the real market. Remember, he's not the real market. He's not the free market. Remember what we say about free markets? The free markets are the investing, trading, and speculating by investors, traders, and speculators, and the big money crowd based on what they are seeing, every bit of information that they have. We call it the smart money. We call Jay Powell the dumb money. Why? Because he's always behind, never sees it coming. And the amazing part about it is, just so you know, they keep talking about they're data dependent. Do you know why they're now data dependent? Because they used to predict and they were never right. So now it's data dependent, but by the time they get their data in, it usually is changed already. The market is the best that telegraphs things. Jay Powell's the worst. I've never seen anything like it. I think they probably have 1,000 analysts going out and getting the lay of the land, and they can't even hold a candle to little old me and my little small sampling when I come in here and tell you about what's going on. Remember, it was months ago when I was telling you about price conscious, and then all of a sudden we're hearing McDonald's going to $5 and Steak and Shake $4, and problems at Lululemon and problems at Starbucks. And I'm telling you about Starbucks that I'm not going there anymore because I had a $300 bill, and I'm considered higher end, and I'm not going there anymore. The little sampling. We think these central bankers, they have their butlers buying their food and their drivers at their Bentley filling up the gas tank. So they don't know what the hell's going on out there. I digress. And again, nothing personal, but he should not have the job. And Ben Bernanke's been. Ben Bernanke may have won the. Did he win the Nobel for economics? He's a buffoon. All he did was take out a gargantuan credit line on our arses and save the day on his fault on letting the whole mortgage market blow up. That was him. They're supposed to oversee what was going on at Countrywide Financial back then, when Countrywide Financial was giving out mortgage loans to mannequins. I digress. Markets. I just be BSing you on how anything except we had one of those days that got distributed. But it's only one day. When all's said and done, the week is what really matters. And we'll see what comes. I will tell you where strength continues to be, even with this reversal at the end of the day. Well, where's the weakness? The semis. The semis are just weak versus other areas. It's been consumer staples, it's been utilities, it's been real estate investment trusts, but I will tell you those areas are a little stretched and extended. It would be normal for them to pull back. There's been some better action. BlackRock and the financials back in New York and financials, but not Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley. In between is JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs that got trashed last week on news that came out of them. They're bouncing a little bit. You have some leadership and some names. Cava, the restaurant group, acts very, very well. Facebook, if it can break above 545, would be a 5-month breakout. Spotify needs to get above 350. So there are setups out there, and there are good names and good action. What I'm interested today, and I'm going to try and get a feel tonight, there's been a bunch of these economically sensitive names. In building/construction, /cement, and they were really up strong today, and most reversed into the red. So I'm going to have to read that bad boy tonight, knowing, hey, let's see what happens tomorrow. I just want you to remember a few things. And the first statement I'm going to make to you is the most important statement I can make to you. I have never been more optimistic on you and I. I have never been more pessimistic on them. To think that they would have the nerve, the grapefruits in Washington, D.C. last month, we sent them $307 billion and they spent $688 billion. You think the media is even asking them? They are so lucky I'm not there asking. They're crooks. The only reason that happened is because we're heading to the election, and they know if they open up the spigots, it gives them a better chance to win. They're crooks. And by the way, I'd say it to their face. I got no respect for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Zero respect. Running $2 trillion deficits? Zero respect. Inflation Reduction Act, and then come out and say there was no inflation reduction in there? Zero respect. My worry is them. They've got to be stopped. By the way, via elections. Unfortunately, the alternative, I'll stop right there. They're so lucky to have us. They're so lucky to have us. They're dead meat without us. And they still disrespect us. She wants to raise taxes on the economy, $5 trillion, extract $5 trillion out of the economy to do their bidding. So they can buy votes. Look what they did with the student loans. That's sickening. People sign contracts to pay off loans and they're being forgiven on a whim to win votes. That's all it is. It's sickening. And now you got Trump wants to hand out money to anything that moves. He's doing the same. Tips will do this. Social Security will do that. This will do this. That will do that. He's not going to do it. He's trying to get the votes. He's not going to do it. But I digress again. So we're going to be a little agnostic here to tomorrow. And believe it or not, for me, tomorrow matters. I'll get a feel tonight. But the one thing I do know, semis are weak, oils are weak, commodities are weak. And we have this group of leaders that we like. And we'll see if they can come out of range. And if they don't, they don't. They do, they do. Gold pulled back today. Why would that happen? Have no clue. Opened hot, finished down. That even reversed down. I don't know. But it's going to be some interesting scanning tonight. And we'll see what shows up. Do not want to see follow-through. And of course, we'll let you know if there is follow-through. Apple. All we've heard is bad news on Apple. It was up almost $5 today. Because it's Apple. The story there, they ain't selling iPhone 16s like all the analysts said. Less than the 15s. And Apple, what amazes me, it's trading over 30 times earnings. Throughout years, traded 15 times earnings, and their growth rate now is much less than it was years ago. That's to be watched. Up next, news of the day. Besides that, I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for?
1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
All right. Let's do some news. Tupperware filed for bankruptcy. In case you don't know, Tupperware's headquarters is here in Orlando, Florida. They have done some magnificent work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida. A gentleman by the name of Rick Goings used to be CEO, left many years ago. And they're just falling on hard times. I really don't know the whole story behind it, except I do know numbers. And their sales last 4 quarters down 21, down 16, down 19, down 14, and they're losing a lot of money every quarter. Are they going to stay a going concern? I mean, I think they're going to keep. Somebody's going to sell the Tupperware. Sales the last 4 quarters were about $1.2 billion. So I gather it'll be some sort of restructuring. The stock will be worth zero. Well, the stock is down to 50. I think it closed at 50. Did it even trade today? I don't even know if the stock even traded today. And it's a shame. What a great community-oriented company. I've met some of the greatest people in Orlando that worked because I haven't been in touch with them in a while at Tupperware, and I wish the company well, and I hope they get some sound footing. Next. Interesting article. Progressives hope Harris's border shift is temporary. So all the progressive politicians are pissed off at Harris because all of a sudden her proposals are tough on the border. Therein lies us worrying. One of them stated, "We're not worried. It's just an election." Interesting, huh? And I do want you to know there's this whole story that Trump prevented a bill from going through. You know, they said that the border was secure for 3 years. Then all of a sudden there's a bill. That wasn't a border bill. It would have done nothing. Anyway, just letting you know, I trust her as far as I can throw her. And by the way, she ain't alone on that list. Not by a long shot. In the news, if I can find my other news things that I sent to myself, I actually can't find them. That's pretty funny. Oh, here's one. In the news. When you have a chance, I am posting at my website, not my website, on my Twitter feed. Just Jeff Bezos sent out a letter to shareholders many moons ago when the stock was down 80% during the big bear market. I think it was 0 to 03. And what he did was he sent out this letter that said, let me explain where we were and where we are. Just try and explain. Don't worry about the frickin' markets. We'll get through it. And of course, he was right. I will be posting that. We love, just so you know, one of my hobbies is studying greatness. Studying the greats. It's a great hobby. You should think about it. Success stories. And by the way, it doesn't have to be rich people. In the news, Rolex. One of the bubbles was expensive watches. Just letting you know, Rolex prices used down about 35% since 22 now. They went crazy to the upside for a few years and down 35%. There'll be more. All bubbles crack to a certain extent and then find their levels. You just got to be careful. I know people that bought Rolexes and very expensive watches because it was the hot thing to do, and they're being crushed. But obviously, if somebody's buying a Rolex, they probably have the wherewithal and don't worry about it. But we just want to let you know what's happening in the world of Bubble Land. So I got this little chart, and I'm going to post that also. Interesting, huh? I also saw an article, Fed rate cuts. What will it mean to your money? And I think that's important. On the negative end, your savings are going to go down a little bit. Half point. Not the end of the world. Remember, though, what Powell did? He screwed you as Mr. and Mrs. Aunt Mary and Uncle Bob when he took rates down to zero and he made millionaires into billionaires. Auto loans will come down some maybe some credit card things, but the world's not going to change. Maybe here and there the markets change a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. As I said, you had this icky reversal today, but I'm not buying into just today's reversal. Again, we'll probably be up tomorrow. I was actually hoping the Dow would finish flat today, just to shrug off any move by the Fed because it's very tiresome at this point in time. Again, tomorrow will be another day. And in the news, Israel. In case you don't know, yesterday they blew up a bunch of pagers, and today it was other things, solar things, and I guess phones and stuff. This comes down to one of the most amazing intelligence moves by any country ever. Stunning. And of course, the anti-Semites and the Jew haters are mad at Israel, but don't mention that Hezbollah has been raining rockets on Israel forever. I told you when I was there years ago. Years ago, my first trip to Israel, Hezbollah, rockets over Tel Aviv. One over my head. I walked out of the Carmel Market in Tel Aviv, a great market. At 2 p.m, I hear a big boom. Run out to the parking lot, and over my head, the Iron Dome takes out a rocket. Imagine if that's how, and by the way, Israel never attacked back. They just defended themselves. Well, Israel's had enough. And you know what? Let's hope they continue to put the hammer down and get these terrorists on their knees. Then there'll be peace. Tomorrow I'll be on with Varney and Company, I believe 9 a.m. hour. That'll be Fox Business Network. Check it out. You have a great evening. Drive carefully, and when you get home, do like we do. It's quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better, I promise. Peace out. Serenity now. Whew. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.